Thank God it's Friday, so let's do Friday business before we head into the weekend. This is 55 minutes of current and relevant business talks, and it's Business Morning. I'm Ini John McQuan. We start off from what's going on in the global scene. As usual, oil prices were on track for a weekly decline today after U.S. President Donald Trump extended a pause in attacks on Iran's energy plants for 10 days. And though investors are still on the edge as imminent resolution to the conflict looks unlikely, but today the benchmarks were just a little change. Brent futures we see gained 1.39% to $109.51 a barrel. WTI, that's the West Texas Intermediate futures, that also gained 0.74%, is at $95.19 a barrel. WTI futures would have jumped 40% since the U.S. and Israel launched strikes on Iran February 23rd. That fell 4.6% this week, while Brent has gained more than 48% since the war started. But that's down 4% this week, talking about Brent. And despite talks of de-escalation, oil is trading on war longevity, not just headlines. Any direct damage to oil infrastructure or prolonged conflict could force markets to rapidly reprice, and they would reprice higher, while Trump has extended to April 6 his deadline for Iran to reopen the Strait of Hormuz or face the destruction of its energy infrastructure. The U.S. has also sent thousands of troops to the Middle East, with Trump weighing whether to use ground forces to seize Iran's strategic oil hub of Karg Island. And of course, we know in all of this, Iran has not confirmed that there's any talks going on. Back here in Nigeria, we've seen palm price change a couple of times since this war started. Well, it's changed high or low from Dangote, but yesterday we had this news from Dangote Petroleum Refinery and Petrochemicals that it is lowering its gantry price for premium motor spirit, that's petrol, to 1,200 for a litre, while setting its coastal price at 1,153 for a litre. That's a move that's expected to influence fuel supply costs across Nigeria's downstream sector. According to Dangote Group spokesperson Mr. Anthony Chiejina, the adjustment reflects a downward revision in the refinery's pricing framework and comes amid ongoing uncertainty in the global oil market, obviously driven by the geopolitical tensions in the Middle East. Market analysts say that the price cut by Dangote's refinery has the potential to ease supply costs and pressure on downstream operators, offering a chance for reduced palm prices if investors or marketers pass on the gains to the consumer. So we do hope that at the pump, as quick or as easy as it was for the increase in price to be passed to the consumers, we hope we will also see this, especially at those retailers who are working with Dangote. And in an era when markets, energy markets, and existing and new technologies are increasingly entwined, it's essential to align energy expansion with sustainable economic growth. This comes at a time when, of course, the convergence as well as competition are reshaping global energy industry and supply, and not to mention the geopolitics going on. And that's when CERAWEEK is holding in Houston, Texas, and our energy correspondent Olu Philip has been covering it and joins us now to tell us the conversations that have been going on there. Olu, good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, Eni.
Yeah, so obviously we know that conversations cannot be far away from what's going on in the Middle East and obviously affecting oil prices and driving down home here in Nigeria. But give us a bit of, what you've been covering so far at CERAWEEK.
So let's start this way. CERAWEEK is the biggest energy conference globally, and it usually will have anything between 10 to 12,000 thought leaders, company heads, global technology companies, ministers, including likes of the Secretary of Energy for the United States, from Europe, COP members, and technology institutes, technology companies, institutions, all coming together to always once a year discuss and perhaps just forge a system that defines or tries to draw what you could call a schematics or paint a portrait of what the global energy outlook would be for the year. And when we left off this conference last year, it was meant to be for this year a conference where new technologies will be discussed, convergence versus competition, which is now the leading trend. And so gladly or proudly, this year's conference was tagged convergence and competition, energy, technology, and geopolitics. Just like as if there was an maybe thinking that something was going to happen. But speaking with those who have been in the industry at the over 16 panels that I've held, 16 sessions that I've held, 66 sessions rather that I've held, it's a challenging one for the economy, for the global economy, because right now the conference and every attendee is really pointing out what is happening out there in Iran, and have sadly quietly admitted that there is cause for worry. And when these energy experts tell you there's cause for worry, then it's big. I give you an example by way of numbers. Now, from the calculations and all of the inputs that have been brought into this conference, even if that war stops today, it's going to take 270 days for all of that mess to be cleared up in terms of the cargoes that are hanging on the waterways. Now, what that tells you, if you need to understand by drilling further, if you divide it by 30 days, that will be 8 months. So even if the war stops today, for which the S&P Global chief Daniel has said that we don't know how it's going to turn out. Military and diplomatic solution may not necessarily bring solutions, as it were. Iran is not easily going to give up the Strait of Hormuz. That's the latest coming up, except they're guaranteed some kind of economic assurances and military safety. So it's a big quagmire that has triggered a lot of conversation. For instance, the European Union is rethinking its strategy in terms of what energy security means. All of that is being redesigned, is being reassessed. For instance, you have, in the name of trying to transit into renewable energy, Europe is paying a very heavy price today. You have a situation where in Europe, over 100 petrochemical companies have closed down. And so these are the conversations we're having. The United States is leading on this charge that started last year or sometime a year and a half when the president announced drill, baby, drill. And it's a policy right now and strategy of the United States to be energy dominant. But they have tried to explain in some of the conversations held during the conference that dominance necessarily does not mean dominating, but it is dominance through partnership. So if you're able to take and dominance through making deals. So if you're able to seize that link and strike a deal, then dominance will mean partnership for you, while it will continue to remain dominance for the United States. And at this point, everybody, I hate to use the word selfish, but countries have to now dig deep and begin to look at how they can efficiently drive the business. Now, there's another big one. The question was asked: Is the world running out of power supply? Now, so you think Nigeria? I hear the news back home. The minister apologizing over the epileptic power supply, and I chuckled and said to myself, I think we don't understand what the world is thinking. For instance, there's a conversation on the power supply need that is being discussed. So today, U.S. is the dominant, as it were, the dominant owners of chips and technology, but they need power to drive that. China has power, but needs the technology and chips. So where these hands move across the desk and how these envelopes are being pushed is beginning to trigger a lot of conversations and a lot of innovations. So we see companies like Google, we see companies, tech companies already coming to lead that conversation around energy supply, around power supply. It's now a big deal. We're discussing AI, and the Nigerian delegation is very strong. The executive vice president upstream was discussing something around how AI can be deployed in well preservation, in reserves recovery, in production, in exploration, and Nigeria is beginning to look at the possibility of deploying all of that for efficiency. We also had a situation where the executive vice president for gas and new energy for NNPC, Mr. Olalekan, was also discussing how Nigeria can take advantage in that global stage. And proudly, it was a time to be proud Nigeria, discussing how Nigeria can look into its LNG. We have a lot of gas, and see if it can begin to bridge some of the supply shortages that we have that is coming out of on the back of this conflict. So I think it's a case of countries beginning to look inward and see what they can do. The GCU and MPC led the delegation, and I was discussing how also that Nigeria can harness its production level to points to levels of almost 2 million barrels. We've heard that before, but we've seen a new strategy. The special advisor to the president on energy, Olu Von Hai, was also discussing on how at the granular level, where people access to cooking, clean cooking, came on very strongly on the discussion panels, and Nigeria seemed to be keeping under wraps its strategy. I like that fact. And
all right, Olu. I know that your report is going to be very loaded. I mean, it sounds like the representation of Nigeria is really huge, and as you said, they're making you proud there. We hope that we will see the result of the pride, the joy, and in energy and cost of energy. But thank you so much, Olu Phillips, and we hope to have you back with a full report with all that you have said. I know the viewers will be looking forward to it.
All right. Thank you very much.
Let's leave the oil and gas space now and see what's going on or how the market closed yesterday. We'll start from the oil share index, which is slightly up, closed positive at the close of trade on Thursday. We're back to the 200,000 in my absence. The market came back to the 200,000. In fact, looking really close to 201,000. Perhaps at intraday, Will should be able to give us good news that we have crossed back to the 201,000 level. Again, slightly up yesterday. The equities cap had 21 billion. That's not a whole lot. So when we talk about where we're coming from or where we've been before, 21 billion added to the market cap. Activity chart yesterday was green. Deals made it more than 42,000. And then top gainers, Premier Paint, Zickies. Well, since the suspension on Zickies had been lifted, we've seen it interest a lot of investors. So it's top gainer yesterday, again a whole 10%. Legends also was up there, almost 10%. Top losers, UPL, Sunesho and Lotus Hall. Top trades had Access Co for the upteenth time. Access Co, Wema Bank, and Veriscap. You know, we're counting down to the recap deadline just next week. I think the first part of next week, 31st of March. And then we'll see, I believe we've had about 32 or 34 banks already have hit the requirement. So we'll see how the picture would look like. I wonder what's going on in the area of mergers and acquisition. We're not hearing a whole lot around that, but we'll certainly do, I'm sure, before the end of the deadline. And then addressing the protein gap and food security through efficient poultry production is the essence of the meeting that has been held by some poultry farmers. It's the 2026 Egg and Chicken Fiesta, and it's organized by the Poultry Association of Nigeria. They have in attendance industry leaders, stakeholders, and regulators also. It was held in Shagamu, Ogun State. The participants believe that sharing challenges and ideas on possible solutions is what they need to do at this time. Beyond them, however, they seek the timely intervention of government at all levels to help implement these ideas.
The best way to get more of the protein now is the egg. And the more to get that more eggs, to have more poultry production in terms of layers, broilers, and others. So that is just the main key. And for this program that we are holding, this exhibition, we want to encourage a linkage, connection, and kind of increasing marketing for people to see the benefit of the production and the poultry of its lifestyle.
We want to beseech the government to ensure that the farmers are protected. In the recent past, we've been having issues of insecurity in the farms. Eggs and chickens are not produced inside the town, they are produced outside the town. So we want to appeal to the government at all levels to please help protect farmers so that there will be food. If there is no food, there will be crisis in the country.
We are growing in knowledge and exposure. It is possible actually for 30 chicken to produce 28 pieces of egg every day. There is what we can do to even up it to 29. So we are saying that with efficient practice, we can do more. If we deploy everything we should deploy, we are going to be able to produce, for instance, 2 kg of chicken in so number of days. When we do that, we are bridging the gap. We are making enough food available at the right quality at the right time. So that is what this is all about. So we are saying poultry farmers come and learn how deploying best practices we can do better. We can have better productivity.
Everybody needs protein, and poultry obviously is one major source of protein for us in this part of the world. Now, we're going to pick up a conversation that we started on Tuesday when we talked about the maritime infrastructure development, especially the deal between Nigeria and the United Kingdom for port upgrade. I'm going to refresh your memory a bit, the part that has really warranted this continuation of the conversation. So we'll take a clip from the program that we had on Tuesday, and then we'll come back to the studio. One thing just comes on my mind amidst all of this. When the deal was signed, we didn't hear much about the minister. Today, I mean, there are also talks about the single window platform. We don't hear much about the minister.
The Minister of Marine Economy?
Yes. Is he not supposed to be involved in this if we're talking about the port?
He's even supposed to sign the contract instead of the finance minister and the MPA managing director. But the issue is that, like, maybe during the negotiation, he was not the person that initiated the project. He was not the person that interacted with the financial vendors. So because of that absence of involvement, so he was not in a position to actually endorse the deal.
But when it comes to the operation of the port,
he is going to supervise.
Well, that was the conversation that I had on Tuesday on the maritime industry with Mr. Okebekwe, the Chief Executive Officer of International Trade Advisory Services Limited. And of course, we talked about there. So, you know, and I'm so glad that at least we have response. So after that, I was contacted by the special advisor to the Minister of Marine and Blue Economy. And guess what? He's right here in the studio. I really want to appreciate you for the response, because I've done this a couple of times for the Minister of Agriculture, and we didn't get any response. Or I got response, I got calls, but we didn't have, you know, enough attention to come on and address the issues. So honestly, Dr. Bolaji Akinola, Special Advisor to the Honorable Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, we appreciate the fact that you saw it and you felt that you had a response, and you are here to defend that. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
All right. So now, the conversation there was about everything, but the part that caught your attention most was, where is the minister in all of this, in the port deal, in the upgrade and talks and everything? Where is the minister? So where is the minister?
so thank you very much. We are public officers. It's our responsibility also to educate and enlighten the public on what government is doing. So yes, the minister is very much there. He's very much a part of what happened. He's the one that supervises the activities of the ports through the Nigerian Ports Authority. He initiated this deal, I can tell you that for sure. It's been quite a while in the works. It's taken over a year to get here. But don't forget, this is a federal government project, and the government is one. So I think what got people confused was that it was the Minister of Finance that signed. That was the financing aspect of the deal. So the Honorable Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, His Excellency, Dr. Adegboyega Oyetola, was very much a part of it. In fact, he initiated it, okay, and it was part of the negotiation, and then up to the point of signing. But the signing had to be done with the Minister of Finance, because that was the financing aspect of it. But the implementation and the whole of it, yes, is very much within the purview and supervision of the Honorable Minister of Marine and Blue Economy.
So we can expect that, thank you for clarifying that. Yeah. We can expect that now that the deal has been signed, yes, when it comes to the implementation, it is totally on the plate of the minister.
Not just even the implementation. I said he initiated it. He initiated it. It was his idea that, look, we cannot continue to use the infrastructure of the 1970s to drive trade of 2026. It was his idea that, look, we needed to do something drastically different from the way it was done before. So he initiated it. He drafted the memo to the Federal Executive Council and got the approval for it to be done, and he is going to supervise the implementation.
Okay, thank you for that. But there are some aspects of that, you know, that of the agreement that has also raised some questions. Yes. So some people say it's because, well, we didn't really have a choice, so we had to agree. And that part is the one that says, for instance, that at least £236 of the deal's value will be directed back to the UK suppliers, benefiting the British industry. That's one. The other one is British Steel secured £70 million, you know, to supply 120,000 tons of the steel pellets for port works. So when you add this, obviously this is also going to be subtracted from the 743. So people are asking, we have Ajaokuta still here. Why did we agree to a deal that is going to compete with a domestic or local industry? Okay, so is Ajaokuta still producing enough steel for a project of this magnitude? The answer is no. So, I mean, we import a lot of steel into the country. So it's a huge project. You are not looking at the side of what Nigeria is going to benefit, okay? We are going to be creating up to 20,000 jobs in the course of this port modernization and upgrade, okay? It's a huge win for our country. It's competitive financing.
Okay, so in the first place, the steel that will be used, most of the materials that will be used in the first place will be imported. Because there certainly won't be local alternatives for many of those things. We are talking of port modernization and upgrade. We are talking about automation. We don't produce most of the things. We're going to have to eventually import it. So you don't expect the UK to give you the financing, and then you use that money to go and get the materials from another country. Okay, so these are given. Okay, I don't see. So, but let's look at the advantage of this financing deal to Nigeria. Okay, Apapa Port, for instance, was built in 1913. That's over 100 years old. Since then, there has not been any meaningful or tangible investment in that port. 100 years after, and people are talking about palliatives every now and then. So something drastic had to be done. So it's important that this is done, and it's going to create more jobs for Nigerians. The Tinker Island port was commissioned in 1977. That is almost 50 years old. Since then, no upgrade, no tangible investment in the port. Most of the key aprons are already giving way. I'm sure you will know that. The access roads are already giving way. There is it's not modern anymore in that sense of the word. So we had to make this fresh injection. Don't look at importation of steel, and these are minor things. Nigeria stands to benefit. This is a port. The modernization once is completed, will create new port system. Okay, for the country. All the bottlenecks associated with our port operations will be removed. We have lost a substantial amount of our transit cargoes. Many countries, landlocked countries around us, use Nigerian ports for transshipment in those days. But these days, we lost those transshipment cargo. This is going to bring back our transshipment cargo. It's going to make Nigerian ports the true hub of port operations in West and Central Africa. It's a total overhaul, huge port modernization and upgrade. Automation is going to come in. The channels will be dredged to accommodate up to vessels that can, or with draft of up to 16 meters. Right now we have 13 meters. And what that means is economy of scale. It means larger vessels can come. And when one vessel, big vessel, is carrying what 2 or 3 other vessels can carry, it means lower freight costs for Nigerian importers, well, you and me. And it will translate to lower cost of doing business at the ports and translate to cheaper cost of goods in the market for all of us. And it will also help our export business. The federal government is trying to diversify the economy through non-oil exports. Those non-oil exports will go out to the international market through the ports. Okay? So we need modern ports to support our export trade. And this is the key essence of this modernization and upgrade. 70 million pounds for steel to UK. Ooh, come on, these are
but you know, all of these
compared to the benefits that
all of these possibilities is hinged on if this deal goes through as planned, following the timelines. Because I've spoken to some industry people, you know, on, you understand, this is Nigeria. We've had a lot of laudable plans, deals, but seeing it through is another thing, especially the timelines.
Ini, this is not a plan. This is a project that has started. Approval has been granted. The deal has been signed. There is already contract awarded, and it's going to start in earnest. Perhaps you don't understand.
Timelines?
No, yes, there is a timeline. It's 48 months. Perhaps
so this should be done, and we should see new ports in Lagos in 48 months.
From groundbreaking, yes, 48 months.
Okay.
So it's not a plan. It's already, we're already on the journey to make it happen.
Okay.
This is not a government that abandons projects. This is a government that initiates and completes projects.
Wow, that's impressive. 48 months and counting down. I'm so glad that you gave that. But you also talked about the issue of bottlenecks. We expect that at the end of 48 months, it to be dealt with. But does that deal with, or first of all, let me not be the one to say it. Let me I spoke to the chairman of Shipping Association of Nigeria, Ms. Boma Alabi, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, and she has some nice things to say, but she also has a question. So please, let's listen to Ms. Boma Alabi, Senior Advocate of Nigeria.
Well, Minister of the Blue Marine, I have to give him his flowers. He has listened. He's been working quite actively behind the scenes. He's not one for too much noise so far, but you see that I engage with them. They've heard us. They're trying to make things work better. It's not easy to make change happen. And there's been resistance from those who benefit from the status quo. So for instance, our customs command, and I say this all the time, Nigeria, please, why is customs insisting on different silos? If I bring a vessel into Nigeria, and I have containers for tin can, if for any reason I'm unable to drop those containers at tin can, I cannot drop them on air. I have to take them back to China.
So I'm sure you were glad. I mean, when you say the minister listens, but some people in the industry are saying perhaps it is time for the minister to go beyond listening to taking action.
No, she didn't just say he listens. He's a performing minister. Mrs.
A quiet
Boba,
performing.
yes, he works a lot. The Honorable Minister works a lot. He's a workaholic. But he doesn't, he's not given to too much of optics, okay? But he does his job, okay? So the point she has raised there borders on customs operations. She mentioned it expressly.
Yes.
That if you,
it's a very sad, sad situation.
It borders on customs operations, which borders on clearing of goods from our port, customs systems, okay? Now, the Nigeria Customs Service is not under the Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy. It is an agency under the Ministry of Finance. So the Minister of Marine and Blue Economy does not supervise the Nigeria Customs Service. It's the Minister of Finance that supervises them. But the issue she raised is very important. And one of the bottlenecks within the port system is the cargo clearance system, which is very, very important. Because at the end of the day, even when the ports are efficient, you are able to effectively discharge the vessel, and the clearing system becomes an obstacle, it will create more cost for importers and for exporters. So, but that is being addressed. And on your program on Tuesday, which I listened to with Ibeke, you talked about the national single window.
Yeah, okay? But you know, she also said that she doesn't have a lot of faith in that single window because from past experience, even when there's an e-platform, when they go through that, then the customs will still ask them to bring the physical document. So we know it's not directly under the minister.
No. I will also speak to that. Right. Okay, so this is, you said from experience, but I've been in this industry for close to 30 years. This is the first time that we're implementing the National Single Window Platform. And this is the first time that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has given an express order that that project must work.
It's not like the Odogu, because I heard Odogu did not work.
No, Odogu is not national single window. Okay. Odogu is a customs...
Not, but it was also an initiative in the maritime sector which was supposed to solve problems.
Not in the maritime. That is an initiative of the Nigeria Customs Service to replace their software. It's a software system within the customs operation, okay? This national single window you're talking about is a national project ordered by none other than the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So it's not going to be business as usual. Okay, so the National Single Window Project, which effectively, coincidentally takes off today, okay, I believe will address some of these issues. It's gradual, but it will be addressed, okay? But again, it is not directly customs operations are not directly under the operations of under the supervision of His Excellency Dr. Adegboyega Oyetola, okay? But notwithstanding, because we run the ports, Nigerian Ports Authority reports to the Honorable Minister. Yes, we are very much interested in seeing to the operationalization and success of the national single window. So let's not talk about experience, okay? We've had all sorts of experience in this country, okay? But this is the first time the national single window is going live from today. And I believe it will be a different experience. So let's be optimistic and have faith. Yes.
Okay. All right. So another issue also around all of this is we appreciate the fact that Lagos Port is getting attention. But people are also asking, what happens to other ports? Because then we complain of congestion on the road, even though we're trying to do the rail alternative. Can't we look at, the potential in other ports also?
Yes, and I will answer that. Thank you very much. Very good question. I've had calls also I'm on some WhatsApp platforms, and people raised that up when that deal in UK was signed. But I hope we'll also have opportunity to talk about many other wonderful initiatives that have been happening in the sector under the Honorable Minister of Marine and Blue Economy. Now, regarding the ports outside Lagos, I assure you that they are also going to be modernized and upgraded the same way the ports in Lagos are being modernized and upgraded. Already, the procurement process, government is about due process, okay? And the Honorable Minister of Marine and Blue Economy is not one to do things anyhow. He follows due process. He reads every document and ensures that we all follow the process that must be followed in tackling the problems in the sector. So he has authorized the commencement of the procurement process for the modernization and upgrade of the ports outside Lagos. And I'm talking about the ports in Warri, Calabar, Onne, and Port Harcourt. Very soon, you will hear from us when that process is completed, and you will see that the same process that is happening in Lagos is going to be happening there. Now, the other question...
the minister works quietly. So
no. It's not just work quietly. We are in the public domain. We issue, Minister, I used to issue the press release yesterday.
Not been sending
so now I'm going to put
So now you'll be sending to channels.
I will certainly...
I'll be expecting those information.
Yes, so I think, channel, we need to close that gap also with channels. I've had this comment many times that the minister is working quietly, not just from you, even from some other presenters on channels. But you see, this is not the issue. But then I'm taking it as a challenge to ensure that we close that gap, okay, with Channels TV in particular. Okay, it's very important. Yes. But let me also add that, look, we are going to work on the ports outside Lagos. But you see, the ports of Lagos are critical and very important. Believe it or not, Tinkan and Apapa ports combined handle close to 80%. 80% of our non-oil cargo, import and export. So we are not going to overlook that. It is important that the work starts from there because the volume is there. And then we are also going to deal with the other ports in the lifespan of this administration.
But meanwhile, we hear ship owners are happier and all under this administration. Ship owners, that the ministry is doing something.
Oh yes. It's
time to blow your trumpet.
No, it's not just about blowing the trumpet. See, I have been a strong advocate personally now of strengthening our indigenous capacity in the sector. And thank God I have the opportunity and privilege to work with a minister that also has that strong belief that charity must begin at home. He is determined and committed to strengthening our indigenous capacity in the shipping sector. Nigerian ship owners have not had the best of time for more than 20 years now. They've been struggling, and the minister is working to change that. There is a law called the Cabotage Law, that is the Coastal and Inland Shipping Act of 2003, which was set up to empower Nigerian ship owners to own vessels. But unfortunately, that law has not been properly implemented. There is a particular part of the law which provides for what is known as the Cabotage Vessel Financing Fund, CVFF, which is a pool of funds to give to Nigerian ship owners to acquire vessels. Unfortunately, since 23 years now that fund was set up and money has piled up in the account, it hasn't been disbursed. The minister now has given the marching order to the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA, which is another agency under his supervision, to ensure disbursement of that fund to Nigerian ship owners. So very soon, you will see Nigerian ship owners begin to acquire vessels, and then we'll create more jobs that way, and we'll be able to handle our own cargo, the movement of our own cargo on the waterways that way. He has even flagged up the Cabotage Vessel CVFF application portal where they can apply and get good deal. Objective. Yeah, that's why it's transparent. That's why you have the portal.
That's why it's virtual. It's online.
Yes, it's online. Okay. And then guess what? It's competitive interest. The banks, if you go to the bank now to want to borrow money to buy a vessel, they probably will be asking you for an arm and a leg. You pay well over 20%. But this is single-digit interest to Nigeria.
All right. Honestly, Dr. Akinola, I have to come back because there's fisheries in Nigeria, which I think is one area where we have potential but has been ignored for a long time. But we're totally out of time now. So I hope you'll be available next time that I reach out to you.
Yes, and I will be happy to come, and when you give us the opportunity to address the issue. There are a lot of other issues that we need to talk about, and I'll be glad to come some other time.
All right, Dr. Bolaji Akinola is a special advisor to the Honorable Minister of Federal Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right. So now, for our DSTV viewers, we're going to have to lead you to Abuja. The event there is the launch of the Entrepreneurship, Innovation and Business Incubation Certification. It's as a TET fund in Abuja, but that's for our DSTV viewers. If you're on other platforms, you can still stay with us here on Business Morning. If you're watching on YouTube or you're on DSTV but you want to continue watching this, please just hop to the platform on YouTube, our YouTube platform, and you would see Business Morning. That's for our DSTV viewers. Back, more issues to be discussed. Welcome back. It's still Business Morning here on Channels Television. Lagos Business School has added to its, available platforms to gain knowledge. And this time they are targeting moving the theory learned in classrooms to the real world. And they did that or shared that at the launch of the Professor Albert Aller's Endowment Chair on Strategic Management in Lagos. So that's it, talking about strategy in doing your business and running your industry. And Lagos Business School say now they have you covered. During the conversation we had on maritime and exploring the deal that Nigeria has signed with the United Kingdom for upgrading of the ports. Of course, one area that we discussed about is the agreement that British Steel will supply the steel for 120,000 that's needed for the project. And we ask the question, why can't we do it ourselves? Why can't we provide our steel ourselves? Well, we spoke to my colleague Jeffrey Ozono, spoke to an individual who was part of the initiative and the build-up of the Ajaokuta steel mill. And a lot of questions rise around that. We're not able to take the full interview, but just to get Dr. Seun Yefeso's views on the steel industry and especially the Ajaokuta steel facility.
First, categorically, a lot has come out of Ajaokuta Steel Company Limited. People may not know about it because I don't want to go into situations where we talk about revenues that came from those things, because they're actually documents that show that, yes, those things yielded revenue. The thermal power plant, some of the rolling mills, and the limestone, the lime plant, a few things like that happened. And I have a list which, I'll give you so that you can see. And it will show you how much was derived. Now, whether those things got to where they should have gone, I don't know, all right? And I'll leave people to figure that out. But if anybody wants to challenge what I have said, they're free to do so. And I'll show them proof that a lot has come out. Many people don't know it. The Navy sent people to come and do their repairs, some, propellers and stuff and everything. These things were done in our different foundries and, pattern making shops. We can do in Ajaokuta engine blocks. We can do a whole lot of things there. And some of these things have actually been done. So when people say that nothing has come out, they are very, very, very wrong. Things have been coming out, but you need to ask yourself, why? We have, real estate there, the township. We've got about 25 different estates and so on. You ask yourself, people say that Ajaokuta is moribund, nothing is happening. We have units there, units that are viable, about 6,000 plus. The staff we have there, less than 1,500. Who are the people who live in those other places? What's their relationship with them? Guess what? Taxpayers like you and me, I pay a little, okay? We have to pay the electricity bills of Ajaokuta because these things appear in appropriation. So who are the people using the electricity, using the gas? Are they producing something there? If they are, then of course you cannot say that it's moribund. For the blast furnace, the steel making shop, the sintering plant now, I think it was completed not too long ago. You got the coke, byproducts, plant. All those things have to be completed. Even the oxygen plant itself is not complete. When people say Ajaokuta is not complete, it mostly refers to what we call the primary units. And I don't see why we should hurry to do those if we don't put in place the raw materials and everything that's required to run them. You understand what I'm saying? What we're supposed to be doing is looking at, we have raw materials, handling yards and things, or capabilities and everything. There's nothing there. Even what was there before have disappeared. We had, iron ore. We had a lot of things, one way or the other. All these things.
So there you have it, Dr. Seun Yefeso, on the Ajaokuta Steel. So if you had a lot of questions, you watch out for when we have the full interview aired, and then you get more information on Ajaokuta Steel. He is the immediate past Deputy Chairman, National Steel Council, and also former Chief Executive Officer and Vice Chairman, BOD of Ajaokuta Steel Company Limited, giving us the background story of that steel mill. Now it's time to go global.
So, Ini, let's just start with what's happening in global space. We just have a very few stories to talk about. But first of all, we'll just get a picture of how stocks performed on Thursday amid tensions in the Middle East. And that's talking about the U.S. markets. Yes, Maria Bird.
Markets took quite a bit of a tumble on Thursday as the Dow Jones was down at 1%. The S&P 500 was also down at 1.7%. And the heavy tech Nasdaq took a major fall for the day at 10% at the lowest of the day, but it was able to recover and close at 2.3% down, as many investors were watching to see the landmark case of Meta and YouTube, which caused a major sell-off for the company. The big tech industry saw a challenging day, which had major impacts on the stock market, as the Iran conflict with the U.S. and Israel continues to be another major challenge for oil prices, as this is also causing the stock market to have some negative impacts. As investors continue to watch for the next few days and weeks ahead, they are hopeful there could be some recovery in the U.S. economy.
Thanks, Maria. Private equity firms in Asia are facing growing challenges in raising funds as deal-making slows and investors grow more cautious. The slowdown is linked to weaker exits and fewer deals, particularly in the Middle East, where ongoing conflict has weighed on investor sentiment and cross-border activity. Despite the tougher environment, some firms remain active, but industry players say fundraising is becoming more difficult as geopolitical risk and market volatility continue to cloud the outlook. Meanwhile, foreign investors have pulled roughly $12 billion out of Indian equities, marking one of the largest recent sell-offs in the market. The outflows are being driven by rising global uncertainty, with the ongoing Iran conflict pushing up oil prices and weakening investor appetite for risk. India, being a major oil importer, is particularly exposed, with higher crude prices raising concerns over inflation and economic stability. Analysts say the sustained selling reflects a broader shift away from emerging markets as global investors reposition portfolios amid geopolitical tensions and volatile energy markets. Up next, OpenAI has crossed $100 million mark in an annualized revenue from its advertising pilot in less than 2 months, signaling strong early demand. The ads shown to users on ChatGPT's free and lower-cost tiers mark a major push by the company to diversify revenue beyond subscriptions and enterprise services. The development highlights the growing potential of advertising in artificial intelligence, though analysts warn the model must balance monetization with user trust as rollout expands globally. Now, a U.S. judge has temporarily blocked the Pentagon from restricting artificial intelligence firm Anthropic in a growing legal battle over military use of AI. The court ruled that the Defense Department likely overstepped by labeling the company a national security risk after it refused to allow its Claude chatbot to be used for surveillance and autonomous weapons. The case centers on claims by Anthropic that the government acted unlawfully and retaliated against the company, raising broader concerns about how AI technology is deployed in military operations. And that's your Global News Brief. I'm Will Ivan.
Thank you so much, Will. And just before we go, good news that the Equities is still in the green, and we've seen it cross over to 201,000 level. I remember it closed at 200,000 level yesterday. We see the most active stocks at this time. Wema Bank experiencing profit taking, though. Guaranteed Trust Holding is positive. Japol Gold, Fidelity, and Regal Insurance. Geregu is still on a losing streak. I don't know what's going on right there. Okomu also is negative, as well as Nestle. Update at 1:30 during Business Incorporated. Willie Bond will be with you at that time. I'm Ini John Michael. Have a great weekend.